Let's imagine that everything now goes so well. When do you think Timor can make money out of these investments?
2025.
How much are we talking about?
Tens of millions, hundreds of millions.
Mr. Charles Brown, could you please tell me and all the Timorese people who exactly you are and why? Why Timor-Leste?
You've asked a lot of questions. I'll try my best in the most humble way to answer as I can.
Please do, sir.
Perhaps the background of where I grew up and where my family came from, which I think some Timorese might empathize with. My mother and both her parents were born in Asia. My mother's father, my grandfather, was born and grew up in Sri Lanka, and my mother's mother was from Hong Kong, and my mother also, and myself. So I'm the third generation from Hong Kong of my family. Some people think I don't look exactly like Hong Kong person, but you have a lot of mix in Timor too. And living so close to Macau, I've always been influenced by this kind of Portuguese experience, I would say. And of course, Timor is not part of Portugal anymore since a long time. And rightly, you have achieved your independence, and you should be very proud of that. And it's a beautiful country.
Thank you.
But again, just from a personal point of view, I was deeply influenced by what I saw in Macau, particularly architecturally. And when I went to Dili, I was on the hunt for old buildings which were yellow, pink, or green, because I painted my house in Hong Kong pink, which is a little strange. My kids thought it was a little strange, but and it was influenced from my childhood when I used to go a lot to Macau and experience the food and all of these kind of Portuguese influences. It's just sort of an interesting anecdote. So when the question of looking at an opportunity in Timor came up, we were presented by a very lovely Australian family with the opportunity to help them and finance and fund their the work they'd already done, the extremely good work they'd done on the onshore concessions for oil drilling. At least I knew where Timor was, and at least I understood, and I can read pretty well Portuguese. So that's a little bit of the background. And so I wasn't particularly scared about the idea of going to Timor. I read a bit of the history. I think even if I knew a little bit, it's better. Little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Read up a bit more. And we agreed to a formula to invest in Timor Resources and support the drilling program, which has been done now. And I know that Timor Resources and the other shareholders have been very active in charitable works in the country and hospital wings and things like this. So, it's a place we're interested in for the long term. I personally, as I said, like dealing in Portuguese-style places, so it's comfortable for me. And at least I can understand what everybody's saying. I understand if you speak Castellano, and I spent a lot of time going to Portugal every month for 4 years from Spain. So, yeah, I'm a reader.
I noticed that you are an American.
Yes.
Born and raised in Hong Kong.
Yes.
Professionally citizen of the world. Could you now tell us a little bit about the Timor Resources?
It was, how can I put it? It was a fascinating situation. The first time we met the Timor Resource team and the shareholders, I think we were curious but not quite sure of what it all meant. And we hadn't really thought about oil and gas in detail. We went away and thought about it, and they came back a second time, and we said, okay, let's work out how we can do this together. At that point, we had not been to Timor. In fact, we committed our investment without ever visiting the country. So I think that says a lot in a way. It says that, we're prepared to take this kind of approach and trust people. And you have I think, a fairly stable and good system. I think, you're lucky. People of Timor are exceptional people. There aren't many countries in the world who have gone through what you've gone through and able to move on in the way Timor has. It's quite exceptional. I mean that sincerely.
Well, that's very kind of you.
And, I think you've settled with your neighbors in a way that's unusual. And generally, I think Timorese people seem fairly happy. You've got a very young population. I think your average age is around 19 or 20. And that's good. So we decided, and we believed in the Australian partners. We believed in what they were doing. We believed in the family, and we went from there.
I remember back in the days, the family, we used to go to Suai, witnessing the whole thing over there.
Sure.
And now that we know that you are there investing, you were investing through your own company, Lake House, right?
Yes.
What is the arrangement of the whole investment?
So Lake House, which is my family company, the name comes from Sri Lanka. So it's, by the way, also was at one time a Portuguese colony. And the structure is very simple, that we share roughly half each with Australian partners of Timor Resources. And we have committed and invested around $40 million so far. And we continue to invest and will continue to invest. A commitment to the project and the people of Timor by the government, because although we have these concessions, we are in partnership with Timor Gap. So it's a partnership, and we have a joint operating agreement and a production sharing contract. I'm not an expert and I'm not a very clever guy, but it's all related to royalties for the government, taxes, if you like, in a different name, as well as a component of income and expenses for Timor Gap to develop. And, it's pretty clear that there is oil and gas under the ground. So we have that situation, and clearly there's oil and gas under the ground, and we're very keen to dig it up, sell it locally, transform it, the oil and the gas, locally in Timor or anywhere else. And the reason we're very keen to get on and do this as quickly as possible is because, A, of course, it helps us. Naturally, we would like to bring back our investment. I think it's completely fair and reasonable. And I think it would be very helpful for the government to have these revenues, have these royalties, have the production, and to prove that a facility onshore in hydrocarbons, that an oil and gas facility, whatever it is, even if it's small, can function. And it's a great way to encourage more people from outside to invest or to get involved in the sector.
From what I've seen, in terms of proven geological settings, how long do you think the operation will last?
We're looking at a multi-decadal production, at least 20 years or more, as we know now. That can only go up. So it's a very large amounts of both, we believe. And, as we continue to develop the fields, we think there'll be an increase in these numbers. What does that mean? It means we have to invest more money. We want to, and I think we'd like to have a reason to do that. So we need a little bit of support, a little bit of help, not just money, but also settling agreements and contracts on how we'll do that. And, we have a team going to Timor very shortly. Our CEO of Timor Resources and some other people will be there, I think, during this coming week. And, I hope they're successful in their endeavors. I think we have been exceptionally and totally straight and honest. We have invested exactly as according to our program. We've provided all of the requirements we have in our contract and our joint operating agreement, and we've been signed off by all the authorities. We're not the biggest project. Of course, this offshore project is bigger. It's more dramatic. It's more, it's very beautiful. It's very fashionable. It's very cool, and it's very impressive, and gets people very excited and so on. So we're kind of like the Toyota Prius, and then you have the Mercedes S-Class, which is the other project. So we're like the Toyota Prius, but we're very practical, like a Toyota Prius.
So Toyota Prius is very practical.
Very
Not only very practical, very economical too.
Very economical. And we can start very quickly, within a year or two, we believe within a year, to start production, selling the oil, which means taxes and royalties and revenue for Timor Gap, for the government, for the treasury, for all these areas, which means the pressure of the bigger project is reduced and the risk is reduced. And pumping oil out and selling it, which means trucking, transportation.
And the whole refinery's activities will be onshore in Suai.
Yes. So there's a lot to do and a lot of people to employ. And we're very happy they're all young people. No problem with that. Great. But for the simple reason it's clear income. It's not a long-term thing that's going to take a huge amount of time. It can produce results very rapidly. And as those results come in, we will be reinvesting, creating more jobs. It becomes a little bit of a rolling program, and the multiplier effect going. And, and that again will put pressure to improve the airport, even if, so all of these things, and roads and people's livelihood. I mean, exactly what you said.
So we discussed earlier about the number. You mentioned $4 billion.
That's what,
just for this whole.
That is the figure, approximate figure. Please understand that
it can go up, it can go down, and
it
can only go up.
It should only go up. In a year or two, in no more than a year or two from when we start drilling again and start producing after that, the revenues to the government will be in the hundreds of millions per year.
Mr. Charles Brown, thank you for being our friend, and thank you for investing in Timor.
You have a wonderful country.
We're committed. I'm sure our government is totally committed to make sure that Timor is successful. Would you like to convey a message to our Timorese communities here in the United Kingdom?
I would like to tell the Timorese in the United Kingdom that they have a wonderful ambassador. That's very important. A wonderful team. It is true. I think you have done an extraordinary job bringing them together. I think they're very lucky to have you and the government helping them here.
Thank you.
And I think they have a wonderful country. Wonderful country. I think the mix of background, local and Portuguese, and the history and the food and the people themselves are the resource you have, really.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.